Blessings, I'm Ras Vaughan, also known as UltraPedestrian Ras. And I like to describe myself with fancy words like ultra runner, thru-hiker, mountaineer. But what it really comes down to is that I'm a hominid, a biped. And what I really thrive on is immersing myself in my own humanity by moving through beautiful and challenging places. And I want to tell you about my recent adventure in Africa. I love pursuing what I call only known times. So they're just like fastest known times, except it's on a route or an iteration of a route that's never been done before. And part of the fun of that is an only known time is like the Schrodinger's cat of fastest known times. When you set it, it simultaneously exists as both the fastest known time and the slowest known time for a given route. And that doesn't resolve into a single reality until somebody else completes it. So when I was setting my sights on Africa and had plane tickets for South Africa, there's a classic route there called the Drakensberg Grand Traverse, which to me just seemed like an obvious target. So I started researching and I saw this opportunity on the table to do a very pure, completely unsupported double Drakensberg Grand Traverse. And once I saw that possibility, that's just what my brain latched onto, and I don't really know if there's any chance of me doing anything different from that point on. And I was in the opportunity to give this thing a go and start making plans and pit myself against the Drakensberg Grand Traverse. Just landed in Addis Ababa, touching my feet in Africa. So from here on out, it's going to be the Baz bus to get me down to the North Drakensberg, the world's premier hiking destination. Arriving in South Africa, I was just totally in over my head. You know, I'm not a real experienced international traveler, and Johannesburg is a pretty intense city in a lot of ways, and I'm not somebody who spends a lot of time in urban areas anyway, let alone ones with the sort of vibes like Johannesburg has, where there's, you know, walls around everything and barbed wire and electric fencing and just this whole sort of compound security vibe, which I wasn't used to. So that was all really intimidating. I was just really out of sorts and in over my head, out of my element. But once I came up with the idea of a double Drakensberg Grand Traverse, I just felt good. I just had a focus, I had a goal, and once my brain has something like that to be centered around, everything else starts falling into place. This is my staging area, and I'm just making last-minute decisions about how much food to bring and what layers to bring. I came prepared for really cold weather because I'd had a lot of warnings about how variable the weather can be in September up on the Drakensberg escarpment. There hasn't been any rain. It doesn't look like there's going to be rain. There could be some brief showers or storms. There can always be unexpected weather up high once I'm on the escarpment, but as far as weather forecast, things are looking good, and I head out tomorrow. And departing Sentinel Car Park, the trailhead for Sentinel Peak. It's 9:45 a.m. on the 11th day of September 2017, and this is the official starting point for the Drakensberg Grand Traverse. We've come to the first of the waypoints. Windy and gusty, which it's known for always being here, so I'm not exactly surprised. With a full pack acting like a sail, that's going to make it a little bit interesting. Even though I'm halfway around the world, in a different hemisphere, on a different continent, this train really reminds me of that. It's pleasantly familiar, similar to the American Southwest that I'm so fond of. Morning of day 2. Got a good night's rest, actually. Got about 7 hours sleep, which is a lot more than I normally get on an adventure of this sort. I only covered 21 miles yesterday, which is a little bit disappointing. It's a start. So I'm deep into the Drakensberg and spent a bunch of time in Lesotho, the Kingdom of the Sky, which is pretty amazing. I mean, you can see what it's like up here. It's just high. Really nice time, just feeling incredibly blessed to be in this amazing place. Yeah, what a blessing.
My father told me yesterday he'd send some more advice my way each day.
Blessings, blessed love. All right. It's okay if I film? It's okay?
It's okay, it's your camera.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot me.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
yes.
okay?
It's okay.
Okay. How old are you?
My world, I was born in 96.
So 21.
Is it 21? Yes,
yeah,
I am
cool.
21.
My daughter was born in 93.
93.
Yeah.
Mama, you are
My daughter.
Oh,
my child.
My
yeah.
baby. Your baby.
Yeah. 93. I was born in 71.
Oh, 71.
Yeah, so see, I'm old.
Oh, yes.
See.
Still matters who sees trash and treasure.
So I'll get some more mileage in tonight anyway. I'm continuing to move forward, making progress. Morning of day 3. And had a couple of interesting experiences last night. I'm following a GPS track, and during the day, you know, I can use that to look ahead and figure out landmarks as far as where the route's going to go, because there's just not trail. I mean, there's stock trail and game trails which won't take you where the GPS track is going. And that's how I'm navigating. So, but in the dark, getting around that was crazy. I mean, it came up to this place where there's just crazy exposure, big sheer drop off, and that was where the track seemed to go, and I wasn't about to attempt that. Ended up winding my way up higher on the knob than the track showed and falling around and coming down a totally different way, but worked it all out. Took a long time though. It was really slow and inefficient going. A few years ago when I did my unsupported Washington Traverse, where I ran and hiked across the state of Washington from the Canadian border to the Oregon border on the PCT without resupply, I had Sir Mix-a-Lot's I Like Big Butts stuck in my head. So, you know, it's not a pattern I necessarily would have liked to establish, and I'm just not sure. The only thing I can come up with to explain it is the tempo and how it matches my pace. And it seems like all about that bass is similar, so I'm gonna have to check the BPMs on those, the beats per minute, and see if they're the same. Maybe my pacing, my foot turnover slowing down, and I could figure that out from whichever booty song is stuck in my head. So no idea of the significance of it. I just found it entertaining. Because I'm all about that bass, no trouble. Yeah. Oh, nice. All right, it's 6:50 p.m. Day number 4. I'm at checkpoint, waypoint number 6, Giant's Castle. Continued progress. Okay. Nice to meet you. Hello, hello. Only one left. Do you want it? Okay. Hey, it's good meeting you. Take care. Have safe travels. It's final 8 p.m. Day 5. This is the summit of Mountain Kingdom, the highest point in all of Southern Africa. And this is the final summit of the Drakensberg Grand Traverse. Morning of day 6, so I should be hitting my bounce point today at Bushman's Neck and turning around and starting to head back. Some pretty gnarly winds started up overnight. It's not just the wind, but there's a bunch of cloud building up upwind of me, like it's blowing this direction, so it's got me concerned about exactly what to do. There's not a lot of places to seek shelter, you know. I'm gonna get moving again, and just as I'm going, I'm gonna be spotting out emergency shelters in case this turns into like a lightning and rainstorm. Hey sweetie, just saying hi. It's day 6, the end of day 6, and some kind of nasty weather forced me into my tent at the end of the day instead of finishing up the first traverse, so I just thought I'd say hi, and I'll email this to you when I get back to civilization. But I've got almost all my layers on, and I'm in the sleeping bag in the little tent, and it just reminds me of all the times that we did this on the AZT and the GET, and yeah, it was always kind of fun. Like when we would get forced into the tent, it would frustrate our plans, but it was always fun to be forced into the tent with you, and then we'd get to just have a little bit of relaxation time and make the best of it. And I'm doing that here, but it's not as much fun by a long shot being stuck in a little tent by myself at 10,000 plus feet in the rain in the middle of Africa. I just thought I'd say hi. I love you very much, and in most ways I'm glad that you're not stranded in the rain at 10,000 feet, you know, off the grid in Africa with me, just because I would like you to be in a better, safer place. But it'd be a lot nicer if you were here. I love you, sweetie. Good morning. It's the morning of day 7, and I'm up at 10,000 some odd feet. I've got about 10 miles to descend into Bushman's Neck, where I'm supposed to turn around, and I'm dealing with an interesting situation. As you can see, that's just a solid sheet, so I'm trying to figure out how I can get out of here. I don't know. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do. I might wait a little bit and see if that fog and cloud clears off, because I'm concerned that that's just going to drench me. So I only have about 10 miles to drop down into Bushman's Neck. I still have like 6 days worth of food. It's very, you know, it'd be a very real possibility to turn around and complete this thing. I'm just shaken right now. Mentally, I'm a little unsure, so I'm hoping that as I get down lower, things will nice up a bit and it'll help me feel more solid about what's going on. Right now, I feel like the itsy bitsy spider, you know, and all this rain and ice is flushing me down this gully, which is my water spout. My double Drakensberg Traverse attempt is over. There's just no way. I'm wearing almost all of my layers except for one really thin layer, and they're all wet, and there's no sign of things clearing up for them to be able to dry. I can't imagine a scenario where I turn around with sopping wet gear and start hiking back up to 10,000 feet. It's just not prudent. Throughout the day, I'd been, you know, monitoring everything and basically just watching this big goal of mine crumble or slip away out of my grasp. The weather wasn't turning in my favor. It was continuing to deteriorate, and I knew that I was close to reaching the tipping point where the decision would essentially be made for me. And about 3 or 4 miles outside of Bushman's Neck, I found this big cave, which I got into to just get out of the wind and out of the rain and the weather for a few minutes, and to eat a little bit and sit and take stock of the situation. All right, so I'm still a few miles from Bushman's Neck. I was finally able to take shelter for a few minutes in this cave, where obviously I'm not the first person to do it. Really cold. It's a lot colder than it looks like, and it's just I'm gonna have to call it. I got down to Bushman's Neck and it became apparent that I'd made the right call, so that's cool. I walked right past the border post and nobody said anything to me, so I didn't figure I'd make any work for them. It was amazingly humbling coming to South Africa and the Drakensberg and Lesotho. What was really humbling about it was coming here with my sort of first world athletic aspirations and, you know, taking on these elective hardships in order to test myself and to try to expand myself and push my boundaries physically, mentally, and yet to realize as I was doing that I was essentially just in the backyard of the Herdboys. Even though for me this was the setting for this grand athletic attempt, for them it's just the place where they live and where they work every day.
From Bushman's Neck to Sun.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it. because I'm all about that bass, no trouble.